What has the VW Golf, now in the 8th generation and one of the best-selling vehicles in Europe, got to do with the war that Russia has unleashed on Ukraine?
Putin destroyed big parts of Ukraine. And as long as you take a Russian product in the future, you will be in your mind remembered on that tragedy.
Certainly the raw materials that are necessary to construct vehicles are indirectly supporting Putin. We pay many millions and billions of euros to Russia every year. And of course, that helps to prop up these regimes.
But how much Russia is actually in my car? Why is China happy about this? And how will the global automotive market be affected by the war in Ukraine? Well, Russian raw materials make up just 5% of a car's value, but that 5% is absolutely crucial for onboard electronics, catalytic converters, and the electric car batteries that are ever more in demand in the shift from fossil fuel power. Dependence on Russian oil has been a hot topic for some time. An even hotter topic for the automotive industry is what to do about raw materials from Russia.
Yes, the raw materials issue is really problematic, because Russia is actually a very large raw material supplier of important raw materials, such as nickel and palladium. In this respect, this will affect the industry very strongly. The problem of palladium is also underestimated.
Without Russian palladium, not a single combustion vehicle would pass an emissions test. The precious metal installed in the catalytic converter filters harmful exhaust gases from the air coming out of the exhaust. And the complex electronic systems in our cars are entirely dependent on a mass of microchips. To produce these, you need neon gas from Russia and Ukraine.
Neon presents a lot of problems. We're talking about the chips which can no longer be produced properly because you really need neon gas for that.
During the production of microchips, information is laser etched onto a silicon plate. To operate the laser, you need neon gas. Without Russian nickel, much electric car production could run out of juice. Nickel is a fundamental ingredient of high-performance rechargeable car batteries. In Germany, 40% of the nickel needed to make EV batteries comes from Russian mines.
Nickel is needed both for lithium-ion battery cells and for steel production for the relevant alloys.
The electromobility boom made nickel an especially sought-after metal even before the Ukraine war. An average lithium-ion car battery contains 8 kilos of lithium, 35 of nickel, 20 of manganese, and 14 of cobalt. The fact that Russian raw materials are so crucial is not just a moral problem for motorists. Some experts are sounding the alarm because they fear the impact on the car-making industry.
If the raw materials get more expensive and if there is not enough material on the market, the price will go up. I believe the cars will become more expensive in the near future. This problem is really, really huge and it's worldwide. And if we don't have the nickel, we cannot manufacture the cars. And if we cannot manufacture the cars, we cannot sell them. So it's a simple equation. We just have to close down the factories. And if we close down the factories, people don't have jobs.
Fuel prices are also going up steeply. After all, Russia is one of the largest oil exporters in the world. In order to open up new sources of oil, German Economy Minister Robert Habeck has travelled to the United Arab Emirates and Qatar. He's also considering going to Indonesia, Finland or South Africa to ensure the supply of raw materials.
I believe that in Europe, in Germany, the topic of raw material supplies and cooperation in the field of raw material supplies has actually been underestimated for far too long. That was a big strategic mistake, as is now becoming apparent, especially regarding competition with China, for example. There too, we are dealing with an authoritarian regime, and there are also enormous risks.
In other words, even if Russia's commodities trade with Europe came to a standstill because of sanctions or a boycott, Russian corporations could still easily shift their stock. China would doubtless be prepared to import Russian raw materials at a reasonable price. Their booming automotive industry also needs nickel and palladium.
If China were to obtain these raw materials even more cheaply, say, through Russia, then suppliers from China would be operating at a lower cost level than European players, for example. This would significantly strengthen the automotive industry in China. And also remember that China is increasingly an exporter of electric cars to Europe. And these vehicles could then be offered more cheaply.
Could China be the big winner of this crisis? In recent years, the European automotive industry has also become heavily dependent on the world's most populous nation. Now it's desperately looking around for solutions to its precarious and insecure supply chain.
If you take raw materials, you can increase the exploration rate. That means you get more and more of that.
Russia is not the only source of nickel and palladium, but it's unclear if mines in Indonesia, Finland and South Africa can simply ramp up their operations overnight.
You can go in recycling activities, which helps to recycle all the things which are out in some devices.
BMW has been trying for some time to save raw materials through a kind of circular economy. It plans to provide up to 50% of the required nickel in battery production through recycling processes.
You have the possibility to go in substitution processes. That means use other materials.
Car companies such as Tesla have long been researching battery cells that do not require nickel. They are to be made from lithium, iron and phosphate.
These are all big investments, long-term investments. You can't do that overnight. This is a task over years, sometimes decades.
We have problems, or we will have problems if the war continues. I don't know if the automotive industry can really solve the crisis. Stopping the war is the only, let's say, major option that we have.
As for all the motorists caught in a struggle between their conscience and their wallets, there is an alternative to waiting for an end to Russia's war in Ukraine.
In the short term, you could consider making the odd journey by bicycle instead of by car. This is the best way to drive less. It means using less fossil fuels. So in the longer term, this is also an ecological step, and one that neither supports Putin's regime nor the dictators and authoritarian regimes in the Middle East.
To cycle past gas stations where autocratic regimes offer their business with fossil fuels, to free yourself with your own power from Russian raw material suppliers, Surely those are good arguments for leaving the car in the garage for a change.